if I were an emoji right now, this would be me. You know, this is just me being very, very grateful for everything and not trying to tempt the universe in any way. Very often in society, we are told to just bear things and just deal with it, because that's just the way life is. And I think I just strongly object to that. Like, why should you just deal with it? Or why should you just have to succumb? You have one life. I mean, you have to fight for that life. I'm a deep romantic at heart. But having said that, it's not like I was one of those girls who wanted to get married all my life. You know, like you think about marriage from your childhood days and you're imagining the day of your wedding and what you're going to wear. I was not like that at all. I was like, no, I want to work. I don't have time to think about marriage. Your bra shouldn't be on a bed. Hide the bra. Yeah. Why to hide it? Yeah. It's clothes. You have flashing your underwear. I'm not saying anything. And I'm not saying this to a particular person. I'm saying in general, it's not like it's happened with me actively, but there's a certain understanding of how you should just hide a lot of things as a woman.
I have totally run out of reasons to say congratulations to you. I've lost count, so I'm just going to say congratulations for everything. And I'm going to ask you exactly what I said in my introduction. Indra Nooyi, who used to head PepsiCo, said, no woman can have it all. But I look at you and I think you really do have it all. Do you feel like you have it all?
It's a very tough question. And I'm not sure what the correct way to answer it is.
Just answer it as you feel, like you always do.
Well, no, I mean, yeah, right now it does feel like everything is working out very seamlessly and very naturally well. But I think I'm in the kind of headspace I'm in right now is to not tempt the universe, because I do, especially nowadays, have a fear of everything going wrong, especially when it comes to health and all of that. So I'm like, not trying to tempt the universe, just being extremely thankful. So I think this is if I were an emoji right now, this would be me. You know, this is just me being very, very grateful for everything and not trying to tempt the universe in any way.
But I have to say, this one is my least favorite emoji. It's the most annoying emoji. But I know what you feel. It's almost like everything feels too good to be true. And of course, like, you're in the middle of a pregnancy. You're about to be a parent. So obviously, a certain degree of let me not mess with this is there. But let's talk a little bit about darlings, right? The question we actually asked today was, how did Alia Bhatt become India's darling? And we'll get to that. But let's first talk about your production. Everybody in the media has described it as a comedy, a dark comedy. I watched it. It's comical, yes, but it's also ironic. And it's actually about something pretty serious. It's about marriage. It's about the power structures in a marriage. It's about a woman taking back herself and her identity in a marriage, and it's about domestic violence. You decided to use initially the instrument of humor. So, when you look at the word darlings, you think this is going to be a funny film, but it's not only a funny film. What attracted you to this? It's really quite a feminist film.
Well, I think the fact that it's really wacky. I think that's what really attracted me to it. Yes, and absolutely, it's a very, very sensitive subject. It's a topic that needs constant attention. It's a theme that cannot be spoken about, more. Like the more we say about it, the less, like, I think it is. Like, we can keep talking about how important it is for people to recognize when they're maybe a part of an abusive dynamic or a violent dynamic, and how they should not respond. I love that it was a message, but told in an entertaining way. So at no point are you belittling the message or speaking about taking any situation lightly. And that was one of the things that we were most conscious of. And in fact, as a director, I feel Jasmeet had a huge task at hand, because you're walking a very, very thin line between darkness and comedy, between the black and the white, or the it's actually super grey all the way. In many ways, the characters are just, they're not as simple as they seem. I love the title Darlings only because it makes you question what this film is about. So that isn't just like instantly intriguing me. And I loved how the film just started off as a regular relationship film that maybe is not going well, and then suddenly the genre just shifts. And it says so much. There's so much commentary on relationships, on life, on history repeating itself, on dynamics. It's just so personal. It's so layered. At the same time, it has a bit of a light flavor to it, and not again in a punchy sort of way. I'm not borrowing a punchline and making you laugh. It's the situation actually that is just like, what is going on? It's a comedy of errors, and that makes you kind of just burst into laughter.
Yeah. And obviously, I can't give away spoilers, but it is, as I said, the tale of a marriage of Hamza and Badrunisa, and about Badrunisa asserting her sense of dignity and justice in this marriage. But you know what? We're a society where there's so much emphasis on marriage, and you are walking the thin line because you're trying to challenge attitudes. So many women who actually experience domestic abuse don't leave a marriage. It's difficult for women to take a stand sometimes. There's so many factors against it, the lack of economic independence, the way society judges you. How did you all navigate all of those minefields?
Well, I think one will constantly be navigating it, right? There's no right or wrong way to say something poignant or good in any way. So I don't think that was something that we were worried about. Definitely, as even if you're talking about the social stature that Badru and Shamshu come from, their lives are not cushioned lives. They are struggling on a day-to-day basis. Maybe they have a small little business of a dabba service that they're trying to run. So it's not like they have it all figured out. But still, you do get an understanding when things are not when things are not really going that well. And by that well, it doesn't mean like it's not rosy in the garden, but where it's actually not it's not healthy for you as a person. And since you mentioned society, I think very often in society, we are told to just bear things and just deal with it, because that's just the way life is. And I think I just strongly object to that. Like, why should you just deal with it? Or why should you just have to succumb? You have one life. I mean, you have to fight for that life, and you have to make that life about you. You have to fight for yourself. So I think that's maybe what we're urging me in this film, in an entertaining way. We're trying to tell you a story of, and this mother-daughter relationship as well. The mother's not necessarily saying very motherly things to the daughter. She's suggesting completely odd things. Even in the trailer, she's saying, "Chuhe marne ki dawa khane mein mila de, zindagi bhar daru nahi piyega." I mean, it's a very odd thing to say, but I see people responding to it and finding it funny. Why are they finding it funny? Because it's boisterous, it's daring. In a sense, it's something that, you may think, but you don't say out loud. Yeah. So actually, we are all a bunch of our thoughts, right?
Yeah. And also, I think the important point that you make is that you're talking about something serious, but you're talking about it in an accessible, relatable, lighthearted way. Let me ask you this before I sort of, we have some viewer questions coming in for you, but let me ask you this. You just got married. This film is a portrait of a marriage. There are many kinds of marriage. But when we talk about women in marriage, there's a whole different pressure on women. Sometimes from when they're very young, a woman is made to sometimes from the times of Jane Austen feel incomplete if she's not married. And that is also why so many women find it difficult to sometimes stand up against things that aren't going right in a marriage. What does the Institute of Marriage mean to you and your generation? I say your generation like a real auntie G, because I'm like years older, and I'm curious to know.
Well, in my understanding, the institution of marriage, to me, the reason I decided, or the reason I wanted to get married to my husband, was because I was like, listen, I found my person that I want to sit with on the balcony on a daily basis, that I want to watch movies with, that I want to eat meals with, and you're my person. So let's just get married and let's make our own family. That's the reason. And that's the reason why most people get married. You find your person and you want to be with them. But it doesn't mean that if you don't want to get married or you don't have that person, there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. That's just Like, that's totally okay and that's totally normal. I'm a deep romantic at heart. But having said that, it's not like I was one of those girls who wanted to get married all my life. You know, like, you think about marriage from your childhood days and you're imagining the day of your wedding and what you're going to wear. I was not like that at all. I was like, no, I want to work. I don't have time to think about marriage. But actually, very naturally, it happened when you meet somebody that you feel so like deeply connected to and you just want to live with and, just have babies with and just have a beautiful life with. There's something that makes you feel like, okay, what's holding me back? Like, there's nothing holding me back. So just go for it and just submit to the moment and commit to it. So yeah, I think that's what it is for me.
Yeah, but the important thing you said in all of that is that you had dreams of working, and too many of our young girls are first sort of molded to think about marriage and then about economic self-reliance. Now, I've got to ask you this. You took to Instagram recently, very irritated, out of character for you, because you were asked about Ranbir coming to pick you up, and you said, and it was a great line, "I'm a woman, I'm not a parcel. I don't need to be picked up, and let's get over these archaic ways of thinking." Since you've got married, since Darlings is all about the portrait of a marriage, since you've got married, have you had to fend off these kind of irritating presumptions that something in your life is about to change professionally, personally, that Alia Bhatt is no longer Alia Bhatt? Have you had to deal with some of those irritating things?
I mean, yeah, not really deal with it, but there are these questions like, what has changed? And I'm like, why does anything have to change? Nothing has changed. I think you can say something changed the day I met Ranbir and I decided, oh my God, this is the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with. That was the moment something changed, when I deeply fell in love with him. Why does anything have to change just because I've gotten married to him? And actually nothing has changed. It took me so long to actually move from boyfriend to husband. I was like still calling him my boyfriend because I'm like, mentally actually there's no shift that happens.
Yeah.
But I think the reason I got irritated also was, yes, you're actually in the garb of a positive article being like, oh, she's going to come back and rest. And, the Hollywood film has been postponed and her husband is going to go and pick her up. What are you doing? You're basically saying, I'm no longer going to be working, that I'm not fit to be working, that I need to rest and put my feet up, and that I can't even travel back on a plane by myself and that my husband has to come and pick me up. You're basically saying I'm incapable of doing anything. So that's what annoyed me. And it was actually not a commentary about me. You know me. I never defend myself. You can say 100 fake news and all rubbish things about me. I don't care. Just watch my movies. But here you are making a commentary on a woman. And as a woman today, and as a young girl who is trying in a very natural way to balance her personal and professional life, I don't think it's fair for you to just be making such a hard, loud commentary on what one is capable of. And that's the only reason I spoke up, because I don't want girls who maybe, would see something like an article like that, or, look up to me or my work to think that, oh, suddenly now everything is going to change. I wanted to make it loud and clear. Yes, things will change, but in my personal life. But my personal life has nothing to do with my professional life. So that let me handle. And let me handle my professional life also. There's no need for you to draw parallels between the two.
Yeah. When we asked for viewers to send in their questions, one of the questions, and I would typically not have given it time of day, but one of the questions was, oh, so is Alia Bhatt moving into production because she's now got married and she's going to be a parent? There's just this kind of latent discrimination. I remember Sania Mirza used to be asked this, all the time, and she continued to sort of be a sportswoman, well into parenting, well after marriage. And it just sort of reflects, the deep-seated attitudes of our society. But let me ask you more interesting questions. We have a question from Sudipto. Your film, as I said, Darlings, is in the end a film about women, about a mother and a daughter who take back, in a sense, their joy, their sense of joy about life, and don't let marriage suffocate that feeling in any way. So there's a question actually about sexism from Sudipto, who says, we hear many stories of female producers from Ekta Kapoor to Riya Kapoor on how they've been subjects of casual sexism. How has Alia's journey been? Does her star power impact the way the film industry's machinery addresses her? Or does she face impediments that a man in her position may not have had to face?
I think from time to time I have faced that. I have to say, casual sexism. It's just casual. And many times I would not notice it. It actually, and when I think back now, because I'm so much more aware of it, it just makes so much sense as to, oh God, that was a totally sexist comment. Oh my God, that I was basically a subject, like I was basically a part of like extreme like misogyny in that moment. I look back at it thinking, and that's why now I'm so much more sensitive, and I almost seems like, who is this new person? Like sometimes to my friends, like, what's wrong with you? Why have you become so aggressive? But it's not about that. Just random things like, Arey, don't be so sensitive, yeah. Things like that, like, oh, you're being so sensitive. Are you PMSing?
Yeah.
Like, to hell with you. I'm not being sensitive. And even if I'm PMSing, so the hell what? You're born because I'm PMSing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it gets me so annoyed when people just say these random things. It's just casual. And they don't even realize how things like, oh, don't, like, your bra shouldn't be on a bed. Oh, hide the bra. Okay? Why to hide it? Yeah. It's clothes. You have flashing your underwear. I'm not saying anything. And I'm not saying this to a particular person. I'm saying in general, it's not like it's happened with me actively, but there's a certain understanding of how you should just hide a lot of things as a woman. And I'm a very private, quiet person. But in my privacy and in my quietness, I do notice a lot of layers in which I feel like women have to, on a day-to-day basis, just succumb to just a certain, like, constantly feeling embarrassed about random things, which I just don't understand, I just don't get, and I just don't stand for.
Yeah, I love the example of the bra. And I'll tell you another one. I don't know if this still happens, but when you go to buy sanitary pads, the chemist, the pharmacist will give it to you in a black plastic packet. And then you sort of, you crawl back and you hide it in your bag and you whisper, do you have a pad? This happens still today in spaces that I have worked in.
Yeah, that's, of course, another huge example.
So here's another question, a different question from Radhika. How do you maintain your essence without succumbing to hubris and pride? I think it's a great question, and it reminds me of an earlier interview you and I did where your father said that he constantly worries, will my daughter become power drunk? And how Amitabh Bachchan told him, oh, no, never. That's not going to happen to her because she's an alien, she's an ET, she's an enigma. She doesn't even know where she gets her energy from. But it's a serious question. How do you remain yourself? If I had to use one word to describe you or to talk about you, I did it on Instagram today itself. It's that in your industry, you're the most you person I know. How do you manage that?
I think for starters, I don't believe that the sun shines out of my backside. I don't think that I'm the bee's knees and I'm the best thing that walked planet Earth. I think I've gotten very lucky with some beautiful, lovely opportunities. I think I'm an extremely hard worker. I think I'm an active daydreamer. I'm a very passionate person. And I'm extremely fortunate to be doing something that I love. That's it. I'm not changing, I'm not finding the cure to global warming. I'm not doing anything that is so massive that is changing people's lives. I'm just here to entertain you, bring a smile on your face, maybe bring a tear as well. And that's it. And I have a life to lead beyond my work. I think that makes me extremely normal and extremely grounded. And of course, I have to give a lot of credit to just my family, my upbringing, my friends, who are the first people to make fun of me, who are the first people to say, congratulations, but at the same time to say, oh God, you really sucked. I think that's really, really important, to surround yourself with real people. And like my father said, never be the first member of your own fan club.
Yeah. Aisha wants to know, do you get annoyed that these days sometimes the news of your pregnancy and your marriage tends to occupy more media space than the news around, let's say, Darlings or the next movie that you're doing? How do you cope with that?
I don't get annoyed because I kind of expect it. It somehow happens. It's the part and parcel of, being a public figure. Somehow there is equal focus on your personal life than there is, and sometimes even more than there is on your professional life. But I do believe there's a lot of positive, warm, kind energy that's coming my way, even from the media when I interact with them. So I'm very grateful for that. And at the end of the day, I know everyone wishes well, and the people that I interact with wish well and wish health. So I'm more receptive to that, and I try to focus on the good, positive side than focus on the annoying side. I don't like feeling annoyed.
And that is why your company is called Eternal Sunshine. It's also a joint production. Darlings is a joint production with Gauri Khan and Red Chillies. And so there's an interesting question about Shah Rukh from Ritesh. In the movie Dear Zindagi, Alia meets SRK and talks about what's going on in her life, not knowing where to go. In real life, who plays that role of Shah Rukh Khan for Alia, and in whose life does Alia play that role?
Oh, like who do I go talk to about my worries and stuff?
Yeah.
I think I have that relationship with my husband. Like I can talk to him about anything, and I know he can talk to me about anything. So it sounds like a bit of a cliche, but if I'm feeling vulnerable, if I'm feeling, nervous, if I'm feeling anxious, if I'm feeling scared, even if I'm having a day where I'm just like feeling extremely blah and not like feeling happy with myself, I can talk to Ranbir about it, and he sometimes just says nothing, sometimes just hears me out. And that's the beauty of my equation with him, that he's just there and not really he doesn't really need to give me advice, and sometimes he gives me great advice. So yeah, he's that person for me.
Good for you, and may it long stay that way. The last viewer question asks, what would Alia Bhatt be if she were not an actor/producer?
A cat.
Yeah, I've seen your cats.
Don't think that I could be anything else. I'm not qualified either.
Well, you know what? Very few of us are lucky enough to actually do what we love and love what we do, as the cliche goes. I have a last question to you. Returning to your production, darlings. When we were last talking, you opened up about seeing a therapist about body image issues because you thought that was important messaging for young girls. This film is more adult. It talks about a different age group. If you had to, let's say one thing to women everywhere that you've learned from the still short life that you've lived, what would it be?
Oh, I think don't feel guilty for putting yourself first. That's something that, and even I have guilt sometimes from time to time, being like, oh, I shouldn't be selfish or shouldn't be thinking about myself. Of course, don't be greedy and don't be selfish is a very, very large word, but don't feel guilty for choosing yourself in certain situations. I think that's don't be so hard on yourself.
Thank you for saying that, because the one thing I always say to women at 50 is that there's too much romanticism about the sacrificing nature of women, and women should occasionally at least allow ourselves to be selfish, right?
Yes,
like I said, I don't know, congratulations on Darlings, parenting, next movie, just being you. May your life always have eternal sunshine, Alia. It's always lovely to talk to you.
Thank you, Barkha. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care. It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Mojo Story and support independent, robust journalism.